Hello lovely people and welcome back to this week's new video. If you remember from last week, my mic was not plugged in, so this is actually a refilm of this, but I don't feel too bad about it because I got my hair cut today. It's a little bit messed up now because it's kind of windy out and I did some walking, but this is the first time I ever got a curly cut and it's never looked this bouncy. I feel like it's kind of hard to catch, but I'm very happy with it. I'm very glad I went to this new place. I feel good. So hi, if you're new here, my name's Noah. I'm a bookish and lifestyle vlogger born and raised and still based in New York City. If that sounds like of any interest to you, I hope that you keep on watching and subscribe at the end if you so please. As you can tell from the title of this video, today we are going to be talking about my top 10 favorite books of 2023. Now, I did not think that I would be doing this video because I don't think I did it last year. I'm quite an indecisive person. I find it overwhelming to look back at all of the books that I've read over the year because there's a lot. Sorry. It just felt like too much, but I decided why not see what I like the most, challenge myself a little bit, get myself out of my comfort zone to do this. And this year I even ranked them. I don't know if I necessarily stand by this. I do have some 5 stars on here. A lot of my 5 stars of 2023 were from rereads. Let's just get started. Starting off with number 10 is the Slam Dunk series. Now, if you've been on my channel before, you might be like,
wait, why? You've read this before?
And I have. I did my reread. I read this for the first time in 2021. It is a Japanese manga series about a high school basketball team that goes off to nationals essentially to compete with other teams across the country. My boyfriend recommended it to me. It's one of his prized possessions that I keep here on my shelf, on my messy shelf that still needs to be organized. Please stay on the lookout for a bookshelf organization video. I wanted to do my reread after watching the movie adaptation that came out over the winter that I was able to watch in Japan with my mom, and then again over the summer with my boyfriend. It just has a beautiful story, and throughout you're following this team. They're trying so hard. They are such underdogs. I just find it so moving. I put it at number 10 because I wanted to give the other books that I haven't read before a chance, solely because this is a reread is all the way at the bottom at number 10. But I think the reread did confirm that I do love this series a lot and I highly recommend it. Number 9 is kind of a shock for me because this is Schmutz by Felicia Berliner, and it is literary fiction. Literary fiction is not something I read very often. I find a difficult time getting into many of them. I find it to be too slow. If it's all like character and not much plot, I feel that I need to connect a lot more to the characters and I find difficulty doing so. However, the concept of this was so funny and just so kind of like ridiculous, the juxtaposition of it, that I quite enjoyed my time with this. This book is about Razel. She is a Hasidic woman who is going to college to earn her degree in order to pursue this career that will help her family. In attending college, she is given a laptop as part of like her courses or her scholarship or whatnot, and her use of this laptop is allowed by her community, her rabbi, whoever, because it is like part of her education. Now, having a laptop means having access to the internet, and it leads her down a rabbit hole of Googling and answering all of these questions that she has about the modern world. This leads her to her downright obsession, like addiction to watching porn and masturbating. She is really ashamed. She's shocked. No one can ever know about this. It is sinful. And also it means that she's using her laptop for something other than her education, which is not allowed. She had many questions and she began to question her own connection to her religion, to her community versus the modern world. And she feels very stuck in between the two worlds, especially as she is starting to go on dates to look for a prospective husband, while also attending therapy because of her fear of getting married because of this sinful addiction that she has. I thought it was so funny, this concept. The questions that she had I thought were very valid. It sort of felt like a different type of coming of age for her, leaving and becoming like officially a woman, because she's still very much nestled into her family home and it still feels like, I guess, she's sort of a child until she gets married and she's like officially a woman, where she's the one that's going to be providing for somebody else to care for someone, as opposed to her parents doing all of that for her. At number 8, we have Throwback by Maureen Gu. I was able to read this as an arc a little bit late, and I'm not sure where it is because I did have a physical copy. My shelves are a mess. I might have returned it to my sister and she unhauled it, but this is shockingly YA story. I say shockingly because I have a difficult time because I know that this genre is not catered to people of my age, and so sometimes I have difficulty getting into it. This one is following Samantha Kang. It was described as Back to the Future meets The Joy Luck Club. Now, I've watched The Joy Luck Club, I've read The Joy Luck Club, but I've never seen Back to the Future, but it's such a popular story that I understand the premise and whatnot. So Samantha Kang has a very difficult relationship with her mother. She finds it difficult being the daughter of a first-gen Asian American. She feels a certain type of pressure, like a different type of pressure that her mother had to succeed. Now, as the first-gen American, her mother was amazing. She was a straight-A student. She's very successful. She's really pushing Samantha to have the same kind of life and drive, but Samantha isn't that. She's not a straight-A student. She's kind of just skating by, and because of that, her and her mother are clashing. She doesn't feel like her mother understands her at all. After a huge fight with her mother, she storms out and she is thrusted back into the past to the 90s, where she meets her mother as a high school student. With this, she has to befriend her mother and help her win prom queen in order to change the course of her mother's life, in order to fix their relationship in Samantha's present. Overall, I really liked watching Samantha and her young mother at the same age also understand each other, because they never really had that opportunity. To me, it didn't feel like they were very close at all, and so they were finally getting this chance that you would obviously typically never get. It was this whole part of her mother that she had never seen before, parts where it seemed like she was coming apart, kind of disheveled, and not this perfect being that never failed. I also liked that because they were Asian American, that it felt more relatable to me, and because it was an immigrant story of being Asian American and also myself being first-gen Asian American, being able to understand that sort of pressure that you have on your parents who sacrifice so much for you, coming to a new country, learning a new language and everything. Number 7, I have a romance book, and this is The Boyfriend Candidate by Ashley Winstead. I learned recently-ish that a lot of people don't know that Ashley Winstead writes romances. She is very known for her thrillers. They definitely are a lot more popular and further marketed maybe than her romances, but after reading Ashley Winstead's first book and loving it, I knew that I would have to follow and keep up with everything that she's put out. So this is her second romance book. The first one is Fool Me Once. The Boyfriend Candidate is following the main character of Fool Me Once, Lee's younger sister, Alexis. It doesn't necessarily come up as a series, but I just wanted to let you know in case there are similar characters that are coming up and you wanted to keep up with them in that way. This is a fake dating trope. Alexis Stone works as a librarian. She's kind of quiet, a little bit meek, and she was recently called boring by one of her ex-boyfriends, and she's very mad about that. So she decides to put on her hottest outfit, create this persona for herself, and go out to have a one-night stand. She wants to take back and show people that she is not boring and that she is a fun time. So she goes out, meets this hot-ass guy, gives him a fake name. They're making out, they're having a nice time, and they are about to book a hotel. She wakes up the next morning and finds out that the guy that she was hooking up with is a candidate for the Texas governor, gubernatorial candidate. Ooh, yeah, gubernatorial candidate for Texas. This is like a total nightmare for Logan's publicity team, because they're like, who is this random woman? It looks like this young, hot governor is sleeping around, and that's not going to win him the people's votes. And so begins their fake dating scheme. She has to keep up appearances. It's very public, which makes it harder also, and it blends their fake relationship with their reality. There's obviously an attraction, but she knows that this is just like an end game thing and they will break up shortly after he gets elected. She is going to take advantage of his role and his reach and do things for herself that will also help her community, her school, and her library. I just really loved following the fake dating trope, and I loved Alexis so much. I related a lot to her about being put into this box and not wanting to be there all the time and being told that you're just a single thing your whole life and wanting to show people that you're something other than that, and I really loved that. I will say Logan at the beginning, I did not quite like him very much. I found him to be a little bit too arrogant and just too like aggressively male. He grew on me, you know, a little bit by the end, and I think they're a cute couple, and I definitely enjoyed seeing their moments of being like,
oh, maybe this could be a real thing.
But yeah, Alexis is definitely the true winner for me. Number 6, this also is an arc. This is The Quiet Tenant by Clémence Michelin. I did not see many people talking about this, but hi, it's on my favorites list. Welcome. This is an insane psychological thriller. It's told in 3 different POVs of 3 women within this man's life. This man is Aiden Thomas. They live in a small town. People like him. He keeps to himself. He's quiet, but he's nice, and he's always offering a helping hand, and he's there for the community. This man, Aiden, is a single father and also a serial killer. He has killed 7 or 8 women, and the 9th woman is in his shed. She is brainwashed. She's given a new name. At the beginning, she's also just called the woman in the shed until she's given a name. Because Aiden's wife dies, they have to move and downsize. He has a young tween daughter named Cecilia, and he has to explain to her who this new woman is who will now be living in their home. Third perspective is of a woman that he is currently dating, has a crush on, is seeing. Her name is Emily. So there's Emily, Cecilia, woman in the house / woman in the shed / woman in transit. I want to say her name's Rachel. This book was so fucked because when you're reading Rachel's chapters, he is seen in obviously a different light than Cecilia and Emily do, and it is terrifying. With Cecilia, you see that he's a great father. He's trying. She's a tween. Obviously, she's going to have her differences. He's also a newly single father, so it's very weird. Then when he's dating Emily, she loves him. He is so nice. He's like shy and he's quiet, but he's just so kind. And then suddenly you're like, no, he is a serial killer. He is a rapist. He has someone locked up in their home, tricking the whole community, his poor fucking daughter. And it was just such a roller coaster of seeing how these women view him that it was crazy, and I like couldn't put this book down. I'm surprised I hadn't seen more people talking about it. It was such a ride. Everything starts to blur for you, and it really just plays such mind tricks on you, which is why I thought it made for a amazing, spectacular story. Now we're coming down to number 5, which is another romance, and it's Shipped by Angie Hockman. I remember when people were talking about this, I think more like 2 years ago, which I guess is like 2022 or 2021 even. This is a hate to love trope. It's sort of like a combination of The Unhoneymooners meets The Hating Game, which is how it was marketed. The Unhoneymooners to me was too hyped, but The Hating Game I loved. It was either 4 or 5 stars, so I still decided it would be a fun time to pick this one up. Henley works as the marketing manager at a cruise line. Graham works as a remote social media marketing guy. Henley hates him. Something happened and she feels like Graham totally undermined her, but now they're both up for the same promotion, and their boss tells them that they must go on this Galapagos Islands cruise line and learn how to better market the cruise in order to boost sales. So now they're going to be meeting face to face for the first time, and Henley realizes that Graham is nothing like the man that she has painted in her mind. He is obviously so hot, right? So good looking, but he's also kind of nice. He's a little bit quiet. It's getting harder to keep hating this guy. They are going on the excursions. They're doing everything that's available to them on this cruise, which is kind of small, so it's a little bit of a tighter group. They are paddle boarding, they're snorkeling, they are seeing all of these gorgeous exotic animals together, but they're up for the same job. Though she starts to maybe change her mind, at the end, someone is going to get hurt. I feel like seeing the island was really awesome. Also, it felt more like a travel book a little bit sometimes, and it didn't focus too much on the romance at times, but I love a hate to love trope. I just had a lot of fun time with seeing how much Henley cared about her job and seeing how much she also came to care for the island. I was reading the author's note at the end about Angie Hockman talking about why the destination was the Galapagos Islands and her efforts and her belief in environmental protection, which I thought was really cool. It helps to add to the awareness of what's going on and what we could do for the environment. All right, book number 4, All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. This was my last book of the year. I finished this on the 31st and I gave it 5 stars. I was almost too shocked. It just felt too good to be true. I have a whole vlog blog about it, so I will briefly just say that this book is about Isabel Drake. Her 2-year-old son was taken from their home. It's been a year and no leads are turning up. She is obviously devastated. It seems like no one is helping her anymore. The cops don't know where else to look. She is dedicating her whole life to trying to find him. She's attending true crime conventions to talk about her story and her trauma so that people don't forget about this case, about her son. She is also finding difficulty sleeping after this, so she has really, really bad insomnia. Sleeping pills are not working for her. She is only taking little cat naps throughout the day. She starts to realize that she is blacking out during these cat naps. She's also sleepwalking again like she did as she was a kid, and she has no recollection of what she's doing during those short periods of time. At a desperate attempt to find out what happened to her, she decides to team up with a true crime podcaster who has found success in solving a cold case on his podcast before. In talking about her story again with someone, she is starting to question her reality and whether or not the story that she has been telling is now the truth. I don't want to say too much because I do have this in a vlog, but I will say that I love true crime. I also love mystery thrillers, and so this was a really cool time. She's an unreliable main character, obviously. I was very cautious in reading it and seeing if I trusted anything that she was saying, especially with it being told in her POV. It's also told in dual timeline of her present and her past, because she used to sleepwalk as a kid. She's had like childhood trauma and whatnot, and how that might come into play as an adult with her sleepwalking now again as well. Please keep an eye out for my final thoughts in my reading vlog that will be coming out shortly, of reading books that were on the Goodreads choice nominee list for mystery thrillers. So that's all I'm gonna say. Book number 3. This one's also a shocker because I debated whether or not I wanted to put this book as 4 and switch it with All the Dangerous Things, but this is Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a novella. I decided to pick this up after seeing Riley Marie read it in her vlog, and the whole time I had a different idea of what this book was about. I think one of the other books that she was reading was a vampire story, and I mixed that up with Bloom, and I was waiting for this whole Bella and Edward romance, but vampires and biting and sucking blood, but it wasn't coming. This book is about Ro and Ash. Ro is short for Rosemary, and she goes to the farmer's market one day. She sees this gorgeous woman. She is like, damn, I need to go talk to her. Ash sells cupcakes, and they end up being like delicious. They're the perfect reason for Ro to keep coming back every week, talk to Ash, strike up a friendship, and eat these delectable cupcakes. They end up becoming more than friends. It's also Ro's chance to explore more of her bisexuality, it seemed like. They're having this wonderful time. Ash is so different than anyone she's ever met before. She lives in a remote cottage. She basically lives off of her land. She doesn't have any electronics. She just lives this quiet, quaint, simple life. Ro really likes that, and it helps that she makes delicious food and that Ash like really wants to take care of her, until things kind of take a dark turn. And that's all I can say about it because it's such a short book. I don't want to ruin anything, and that's all really the synopsis will tell you. Also, I just found it so eerily inviting. It seems so harmless at the beginning. It was also such a weird experience for me waiting for like the change and for someone to come out as a vampire when it like never was gonna come. But when I finished it and I put it down, I was like, this is so fucked. I can't give it anything else but 5 stars. I just had to sit there in silence being like, what the fuck did I just read? What just happened? I did love All the Dangerous Things. Obviously, it's on my list, but I switched it because this felt so unlike anything that I would typically pick up. With All the Dangerous Things being a thriller, it's so typical of me to read this and like it, and so that's why Bloom is number 3. My number 2 book is Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. This is the ARC edition I read. My final copy is signed. I went to a Q&A to go see her at Barnes & Noble, but I am lending that edition to a friend. Hopefully I get it back. That man is very busy. He travels a lot. He's a workaholic, so hopefully he doesn't forget about my book. If you've been living under a rock or whatever and you have no idea what this book is about, this book is about Miss June Hayward. She is an aspiring author. She is like a low-key, very small author. Her frenemy type of girl she went to school with is Athena Liu. And Athena Liu is so amazing. She is so glamorous. She is a big-time author. She is New York Times bestseller, getting Netflix deals. Her books are turning into movies, and she is so amazing. These two are not really friends, but once a year or whatever, these two meet up. They have dinner, have drinks, catch up, like they're so chummy. One day after this hangout, they go back to Athena Lu's apartment and they're having another drink, a nightcap. Athena makes pandan pancakes as like dessert. She starts to choke and she dies. Now June is horrified. She has no idea what to do, but remember, she hates this girl. She does not like her. She wants to be her. In her snooping around of Athena's place while she goes to the bathroom or whatever, she finds a manuscript that she typed up on a typewriter, so her publisher doesn't know about it, her editor doesn't know about it. It is untouched. No one but Athena knows about it. June steals it. She decides to edit it and publish it as her own. Now this launches her to the big leagues and it makes her career. And this book creates a whole ass conversation about race, authors versus the reviewers, bad reviews, just authors in general, review platforms, whether or not it's okay to write characters that are outside of your race, whether or not you can write a whole ass book about characters, about a history that is not at all your own. It was so wild. Like, listening to R.F. Kuang was so cool because we could hear some insight into what she was thinking when writing this. It's kind of funny and thrilling. It makes you think so much, and I've seen this book being categorized as lit-fic, which I kind of don't like because I feel like there's too many other genres at play, but I'm not sure what else I would categorize this as. It's definitely not a mystery thriller, but it seems too boring to also call it lit-fic or just a plain old contemporary because it is so complex. It's so funny, and I had such a good time reading this, and I totally devoured this. Like the back says, it really was a page-turning, sweeping, gripping, heartbreaking, important, necessary literary masterpiece. Yes, it was. If you're watching this video, you know about all the drama that there could be on the book social media platforms about authors clapping back at reviewers for like no fucking reason, and just like how bad reviews can also take a toll on authors, but I feel like that's something that they kind of have to shoulder when they write something. Like, you can't expect everyone to like it. It was also like so questionable. Like, yeah, maybe you can write about characters that are not of your race, but also like, why is June trying to ambiguously change herself as a white person to market this book about Chinese people and Chinese history for the sole reason of marketing a book about Asian people? Like, why are you trying to make yourself out to be anything other than white? Which is what she is. And so I thought it brought up a lot of interesting conversations. I think this would be a really good book to talk about in like book club or even a class to analyze this. I think it would be such a good read while also getting really, really good conversations out of this. Which finally brings us to book number 1. I've got Fat Chance Charlie Vega by Crystal Maldonado. This is a YA contemporary. It's a coming of age story about Charlie Vega. Her whole life has been told to be basically the opposite of what she is. She's been told to lose weight, to be skinny, to be less loud, to take up less space, essentially. She's always been second best, and her true self has never been good enough for anybody. I think she's a junior or senior in high school. She's starting to get back this confidence and decide that she's going to reclaim herself, her voice. She meets this guy at school, Brian. He is so sweet and he's really nice, and she has a lot of like body image issues. She's very self-conscious, but this thing with Brian seems right, and it seems so easy and so fun. But then after all of that, she realizes that Brian actually liked her skinny, drop-dead gorgeous best friend first, and she's starting to question everything that they've had together. This story is also covering some deeper topics like grief, there's weight loss, difficult relationships with her mother, fat phobia, race. I related to Charlie so much more than I thought I would, and I loved her. This also led me down a rabbit hole of reading Crystal Maldonado's other books. I definitely love her writing, although nothing has topped Charlie Vega's book for me personally. I really loved the whole story. Just Charlie in general is my absolute favorite. My only gripe with it, this was 4.5 stars, was that throughout the story, she has kind of a tense relationship with her mother. They do get along really well, but after her father died, her mother lost quite a significant amount of weight. She likes to work out, she diets quite often, and she does these juice cleanses, which are essentially meal replacement juices. It's quite unhealthy, and Charlie knows this. Her mom pushes this on her, and she honestly is quite fat phobic. I really hated this, so I was waiting for the confrontation between the two of them. I didn't find that from that fight the mother actually learned her lesson and that she was sorry. I think she was just sorry in the moment, and to me it didn't feel like she was really seeing the problem and understanding the root of that, and I felt that was unfair to her. I truly hated the mom till the end. I'm kind of shocked I was able to do this with myself being such a wishy-washy person of having like a ranking, but I think I feel pretty good about this. It's also difficult for me to do these top 10 books of the year because I don't write a review for every single book that I read on Goodreads, or I don't keep a reading journal either, even though I follow people who do and they always look so pretty. I don't have the best memory. I could give a book 5 stars and be like,
oh my god, yes, I love this book,
but not be able to tell you any of the specific reasons because I didn't write anything down. Now, this might be an incentive for me to start a reading journal, or at least write reviews for books that I give 5 stars so that this makes it easier on myself. So I'll start taking note of that, but I kind of had fun doing this. Please let me know what your favorites of 2023 were. What are you recommending to me? And if any of ours overlapped, if you've read the same books that I have, please let me know down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!